Hello, crafty friends. It's Jessica here, and welcome back to Jessie Kate Creates. Today, I have a fun Christmas project share for you guys. So here is the card. I'm really happy with how this came out. It's got so much glitter and sparkle, which I think is what the holidays are really all about when it comes to card making. So let's jump into all the different supplies I used to make this card. Okay, so we're going to start with the main die set I used for this card because this is a mostly die cut card. So I pulled in the Spellbinders Christmas Cracker die set. Thank you to Spellbinders for gifting me this die. I like this die set for a couple different reasons. One, it has so much greenery to it, which I think for Christmas cards, greenery is always really helpful. I like the size of these. These are on the larger side. This is an A7 card, so it is 7 inches by 5 inches, but let me grab, this is an A2 sized card. So just so you can see how large these greenery pieces are, you can see they're pretty chunky. They're a nice big size. So if you need to add greenery to a card, which I know a lot of us like to do for our winter cards and our Christmas holiday cards, I like the size of the greenery in this set. But the star of this show is really this die here, this is actually 2 pieces, which is the die that cuts out the Christmas cracker. So you have this that'll cut out like a background, and then you lay this inside to add all the little details there. It also comes with a bow to add some decoration. This, which you can add it's like a garland kind of swag, and then a happy holidays sentiment on this card. So to start things out, I grabbed this die and cut it out of some pink cardstock. I knew I wanted the main colors on this card to be pink and green. And for all the die cutting, 90% of all the die cutting, I use Spellbinders ColorWheel cardstock. So for my 2 Christmas crackers, I used Bellini and Coral. Love these 2. For the greenery, I used 3 different colors because I wanted a lot of variety. So I went with Peridot, Rainforest, and Fern. For the little berries, I used Poppy and Cranberry. Sorry, it's not focusing. Poppy and Cranberry. And I just want to take a second to say, one thing I do really appreciate about this die is that the berries are cut out in clusters. So this cuts out for the backgrounds, this cuts out for the toppers. So you run this through your machine once and you get all the pieces you need to make 4 berries at a time, which I really appreciate so that I don't have to cut out a million tiny little circles one by one. So thank you for clustering these Spellbinders. I really appreciate that. Anyway, back to the other cardstock I used. For the background panel, I used Alabaster, and then for the base, I used Acorn. So that was kind of the color scheme. Still, as you can see, very Christmassy, just with a little bit of pink and brown thrown in. Okay, so for the crackers, I die cut the top layers out of my 2 pinks, and I die cut the base layers out of some champagne-y gold glitter cardstock from my stash. I believe that is from Recollections, but it was just in a general glitter pack. If I can find it, I will go ahead and link it down below, along with everything else that I've used in this video. Now, something you will notice about the crackers, I did shading on them, just a little bit, nothing crazy. So I looked through my stash for an ink that bit it pretty well, and I thought the Concord & 9th Grapefruit was a very good match for these 2. So I added a little bit of shading on each of the bottom edges. I also, when I initially was making this card, I thought I was going to be using a lot of gold metallic accents. So I put gold splatter on my crackers. I still think it works well. I still think it looks good together. But I made the crackers one day and I came back the next day and made the rest of the card. And one of the reasons I wanted to add glitter or sparkle, I guess, to these is because I looked up pictures of Christmas crackers because personally, in my household growing up, this was not something we used. It wasn't something we gifted to each other. So I wanted to get a little bit of inspiration. And I saw that a lot of times these will have patterns on them. Not always, sometimes they're just solid colors, but I also really like the ones with pattern. So you could totally use pattern paper to cut these out. I think that would be super duper cute, but I decided just to throw a little bit of splatter on there for those. Okay, and then as you can see, I added the little bows to them as well. So that made my Christmas crackers. Oh, one last thing I will note about these. You might be able to tell I shifted the background down a little bit to create a little bit of a shadow, just to better differentiate between them and make them really pop on the card. So you can see the bottom edge of each of these crackers has a little glitter shadow, and I like the way that looked. Now for the greenery on this card, because I knew I wanted these kind of tucked into the corner of a card, I cut out a whole bunch of this greenery. I think for each piece, I cut it out 2 times from each color of the green cardstock I used. So I actually have, oh, excuse me. I actually have quite a few leftover pieces that I will use to make 2 or 3 more cards, because if you watched my last video, it was that craft with me video. I have a lot of craft shows coming up. I need to make cards for some boutiques coming up. So I'm trying to mass produce cards as much as possible. So I do have extras here so that I will be able to go back and make a couple more of this card. Okay, so for the greenery, I just kind of laid it out how I thought looked good to kind of fill in the space around the crackers. And I was really happy with the way that that looked. I think it still looks nice and full, but it also means I didn't have to, I wanted a balance between the greenery looking full, but also me not having to die cut all of the pieces 10 million times. And I think this was a really good balance. It still looks really full, but not as much greenery as maybe I initially thought I would use. So it was a nice happy balance. Oh, something else I did not mention. So the greenery is glued flat down to the base, but I did pop up the Christmas crackers. So for each cracker, between the top layer and the bottom glitter layer, there's 1 layer of thin foam tape. And then I also have, when I popped these, I also popped them up on a layer of thin foam tape on the card. I don't know if you can see that, but it basically means there's 2 layers of thin foam tape for the crackers on the card. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So once I had cut out the greenery and the crackers, I needed to make the background that everything would sit on top of. And so I decided, instead of going with white, I wanted to warm things up a little bit more. So I used that alabaster cardstock, and y'all know your girl loves texture on a card. And that means I brought in an embossing folder. This is the all wrapped up embossing folder. I purchased this a couple weeks ago. Spellbinders periodically runs sales, and I almost exclusively wait until things are, at least like half of the items I want to purchase are on sale before I buy my items. That way, I just get to stretch my crafty bucks a little bit further. I mean, every now and then I'll really want something that I'm like, ugh, I don't think I can wait for it to go on sale, or it's probably going to sell out if I wait, so I'll scoop it up early. But as much as possible, I try to wait until there's a sale. And I've been eyeing this embossing folder for a little bit now. So yes, this was the first card I made with it, but I think this is so cute and so versatile. I think I'm going to be able to use this a lot of different ways in my stash. But yes, so that's what I used for the background of the card. I love the subtle texture it added to the background. I think it's so pretty. Okay, so once I had all that done, it was time to move on to the sentiment of the card. And for that, I used a die set you've seen me use in a couple of my videos now, because I'm just really enjoying it. This is the Spellbinders Merry Sentiments die set. As you can see, I tuck all my extras in here, so it's getting a little crowded in here, but that's okay. So it has all of these sentiments and then dies that you can use to cut them out. It also cuts out the word merry. So I initially thought I was just going to have to gold heat emboss my sentiments. But when I was looking through my stash, I found some very, very old embossing powder. I bought this when I still lived in Iowa. So I bought this probably almost 10 years ago, you guys. What a blast from the past. I honestly forgot this was in my stash, but I like this because it kind of mimics the gold glitter, because this is a gold glitter embossing powder from Zing. I don't even know if this is an American crafts brand. I don't even know if it's still around. But I thought it matched pretty well with the gold glitter cardstock that I used for this card. So I was very, very happy with how that worked out. So now I have all of these heat gold glitter embossed sentiments, and I embossed these onto the same alabaster cardstock. I almost put them on white, but then I was like, I don't use white anywhere else on the card, so I feel like it would be really jarring just to have this little strip of white right here on the card. So I just used the alabaster cardstock and gold embossed the sentiment on that. And I think that works out really well. It helps keep the flow of the card. Okay, so for the word Merry here, I cut that out. I cut the top layer out of glitter paper, and I just used one of the background layers, and I cut that out of vellum. Just to add a little, like, just to differentiate that background a little bit. I also cut the word Merry, this top layer, 3 times out of white cardstock and put it behind the vellum, because I was not going to try to put foam tape behind this tiny little sentiment. So cutting and stacking that cardstock to put behind and give it lift, to me, seemed like a much better option. I don't know if I'm going to be able to angle this in a way where can you kind of see? Well, I'm going to try, you guys. There you go. You can kind of see it. Oh no. It doesn't want to focus where I want it to. Okay, you can kind of see it there. See that white cardstock behind it to add that lift without having to worry about foam tape. I did pop this sentiment up though on a little bit of foam tape. Okay, and then I added, behind the panel, I added a little layer of matte layer of gold and also a matte layer of vellum. And then I popped all of this up on a thin layer of foam tape. Once again, I don't know if you can, ooh, I'm trying, you guys. My camera does not want to pick this up today. But I did pop it all up on the thinnest layer of foam tape. So this has a couple layers of foam, but it's all that super thin foam tape. So I'm not worried about this going through the mail at all. I think this is gonna mail just fine. Now to finish this card off for the inside, I just used some of the leftover pieces that I had. Like when I was cutting out all the dies, I cut out this little swoop of garland, and I didn't end up using that on the card, but I had multiple pieces of it cut out. So I was like, I'll use it on the inside of the card along with some of the leftover greenery. And I think it's just a fun way to kind of tie everything together. Now I will say, because there's a lot of layered cardstock on this bottom half of the card, I decided to put the swag at this top half just so that no corner would get too thick and too bulky. So that's the card. I hope this card gives you a little bit of inspiration for your Christmas crafting. If you liked this video, please do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. That helps me so much with the YouTube algorithm. It helps other people to find me and join the crafty community we have going on here. And if you liked this video and you want to see all the videos I put out, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that button and ring the notification bell so that you get notified every time I post new videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in another video soon. Bye!